It's called The Edge of Sports. As we turn now to Jose Serrano, Congress member from New York, who's taken a stand on this issue as well. Congressmember Serrano, welcome to Democracy Now! We've been talking all about the sports boycotts being called in Arizona, the Suns playing as Los Suns last night on Cinco de Mayo, Charles Barkley coming out condemning the law, Steve Nash. What are you calling for right now when it comes to, well, teams like the Diamondbacks?
Well, I've asked Major League Baseball to consider move the All-Star game from Phoenix, Arizona for the 2011 season. Next year's All-Star game will be played in Arizona. And I think that it would be totally improper considering that 27.7% of all Major League Baseball players are Latinos, and close to 40% of all players from the minor league level up to the major league level are Latino. So at the minimum, when you talk about the Latino immigrant community and the Latino community in general, Major League Baseball should make a statement. The Players Association said that they were upset at the law, but I've also asked them to take a step further and begin to sign up baseball players who will state early on that they will not play in Arizona in the All-Star game if that law continues to be in effect. And lastly, a few years ago, the NFL, National Football League, was faced with the same situation when Arizona refused to honor the Dr. King birthday celebration that we have in this country, and they pulled the Super Bowl, which had been scheduled for Arizona. So there's a history behind this, and I guess one could say Arizona never learns.
Well, Congressman Serrano, I'd like to move on to another issue that you maybe have not gotten as much press attention as you have over your call for the boycott, but could ultimately has a major impact on politics in the United States and in the island of Puerto Rico. For the last 112 years, Puerto Rico has been claimed as a territory of the United States. And last week in Washington, the House of Representatives approved a measure that would allow referendum on Puerto Rico's political future. The bill, which passed on a 223 to 169 vote, provides for a two-step process in which Puerto Ricans would first vote on whether they wish to maintain the island's current status as a U.S. Commonwealth or change direction. If the latter choice prevails, Puerto Rico could then hold a second vote presenting four options: statehood, independence, the current status, or sovereignty linked to the United States, known as free association. The voting, however, would not be binding. Admission to the Union as a state would still require the approval of the U.S. Congress.
Last week's vote divided all four U.S. Congress members of Puerto Rican descent. You, New York Democrat Jose Serrano, was one of those who backed the measure. Joining us on the phone now, talk about this legislation and the passage of it, what you think the significance is.
Well, the significance is that, in my opinion, this bill simply begins a process. One could argue that on a couple of occasions Puerto Rican have spoken on this subject, and it's true that locally they put together, their version of what the future should be, and they put a plebiscite on, and there was no clear indication of where they wanted to go. But, it wasn't Puerto Rico that invaded the United States. It was the United States that invaded Puerto Rico in 1898. So I hold that the United States Congress, which is the one that disposes of the territory, should at least ask the folks in Puerto Rico to vote, and then they would consider the vote or not, but at least ask them to vote. So this would be the first time that Congress would have told during those 112 years, go ahead. So to me, it starts a process which eventually may end the colonial status. And I want to be clear. I can give you an argument in favor of independence. I can give you an argument in favor of statehood or free association. I can't give you an argument in favor of a colonial status. And what I would wish would happen is that at the end of the process, Puerto Rico is not a colony of the United States, but either a state, an independent nation, or an associated republic.
Well, I want to play the comments of one of your colleagues and close friends, Nydia Velasquez, the other Puerto Rican member of Congress from New York City, who she was strongly opposed to this bill. This is some of what she had to say on the floor of the House.
Let us be clear. This legislation is designed to push the statehood agenda, regardless of whether that agenda is the best solution for the island or even among the people. The chairman of the Natural Resources Committee also mentioned that 4 plebiscites have been held in Puerto Rico. Yes, he's correct. And in the past 3 plebiscites, the men and women of Puerto Rico have consistently voted in favor of Commonwealth status and against statehood. I tell you, this legislation has no business being on the floor today. It raises a host of questions. It has 0 probability of becoming law. However, it does place members in the awkward position explaining why they are meddling in Puerto Rico when a request from Puerto Rico has not even been made. There are economic issues that we must address first. The President has ordered his White House task force on Puerto Rico to advise him and Congress on policies and initiatives that promote job creation, education, clean energy, and health care. Instead of dealing first with the very real concerns of how the people of Puerto Rico survive day by day, we are telling them our priority is to debate a status bill that will not become law. This is a disgrace. It is baffling that the statehood question, which lost in 1967, 1993, and again in 1998, is now allowed to skim its way to victory.
That was U.S. Representative Nydia Velázquez in the debate on the House on the Puerto Rico Democracy Act. Jose Serrano, your response to your colleagues' opposition to the bill you pushed?
Well, to be clear, and you know this personally, Juan, Nydia is my sister.